Welcome to the Truth About Social Ads podcast, where we talk about everything related to social media ads and give you the truth about what's happening in the world of ads.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Truth About Social Ads. Super excited about today's episode. As you know, Jason Smith here, founder of Spotlight Social Advertising and host of the Truth About Social Ads, where I sit down with top digital marketers, brand owners, and paid social advertising experts to uncover what's working in the world of social media ads today. If you're looking to scale your business, optimize your ad spend, and stay ahead of the latest trends, you're in the right place. And as always, today's episode is brought to you by Spotlight Social Advertising. Spotlight Social Advertising is a results-driven digital marketing agency that helps businesses scale with powerful social media advertising. Their expert team crafts highly targeted campaigns that attracts the right audience, boosts engagement, and drives real conversions. Whether you're a startup or an established company aiming for higher ROI and better paid media efficiency, Spotlight leverages data-backed strategies to maximize every dollar. If you're ready to grow your business with expert social media advertising, contact Spotlight Social Advertising today. Okay, so super excited for today's episode. I have a guest today who's a brand owner. So I have Nawal is a Detroit-based founder, building school uniform infrastructure through her brand Studious Monday. She is obviously informed by her experience as a tween navigating modest clothing, and later as a mother. Her work centers on access, fit, and dignity. Nawal, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So as always, we keep it kind of open. And yeah, I would love to just dive in. First, I'd like to cover who you are, what you guys are doing, the brand, like kind of all that good stuff, and then we'll dive into a few topics. So, introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are and what your brand is and what you guys do.
Okay, so my name is Nawal, as I was so kindly introduced. I live in a town right outside of Detroit called Dearborn.
Cool.
It's a heavily condensed Muslim population, Muslim community. I've lived here my whole life. I was born in Boston. That's where my parents met. My father went to Northeastern University,
Oh,
and
cool.
then most of our families were being migrated to Dearborn, right? Or they were migrating to Dearborn because of Ford and work and
Got it.
opportunity.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where we landed, and I've been here my whole life.
Awesome.
And I'm a small business owner.
Hmm.
I worked with my mom for the last 15 years,
Cool.
helped her build a child care center. I'm formally educated. I went to University of Michigan, Dearborn, and Michigan State for grad school. Got my bachelor's and my master's. Like I did all the right things. I did all the right
Yeah.
things that a daughter of an immigrant would do, right?
Right.
I
Right.
did
Yeah.
all the right things.
Totally.
I entered the workforce, I entered the field, got married. I worked at DMC for 5 years at Harper Hutzel Hospital in the NICU. And then I became a mom and just working these like really tiresome 12-hour shifts and,
Yep.
getting the opportunity like to, get promoted, become clinical manager, then eventually
Sure.
department director, like all these research opportunities. Um, like sound like really wonderful and great on paper. But ideally for the kind of life that I wanted to live, I
Yeah.
wanted to be like a really present mom. I wanted to be a really present wife as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
And I come from Dearborn and I come from we're Muslim, so like we're hyper social.
Got it.
Like,
Yeah.
dinners with families, like
Mhm.
weekends, you're just like visiting people, the mosque, like I mean, I remember I eventually was working full time, then part time, then went to contingent. Like even my contingent days, which were only 2 days a month, okay,
Mhm.
only
Mhm.
2 days a month, just so happened to be like on an event. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
I need to choose a different life. Like, I need to choose a
Yeah,
different life.
for sure.
So, my mother had just, she had just expanded her daycare. So my mother is, my parents are divorced. So
Okay.
after getting divorced, she decided to open up a home daycare because she
Mhm.
wanted to be at home,
Sure.
with us because she became a single mom.
Yeah.
So she opened up a home daycare and it did really, really well. It was one of the first daycares, in Dearborn. And
Mhm.
then, several years later, decided to open up a center a couple blocks away, kind of scale, expand.
Got it.
So at that same time, I was looking for different like lifestyle options,
Mhm.
like jobs. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, start working with my mom. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
show up every single day and just kind of see what this business is about,
Yeah.
you know? And I did. And I loved it. I loved being an owner. Like I loved being a business person. I loved problem solving.
Yep.
I loved working with people. I loved having a team. I
Mhm.
loved budgeting. Like I loved thinking about like having power to like do and create and
Yeah.
having like a real purpose,
Yep.
having a purpose and having that power to really fulfill that purpose.
That's
Like,
cool.
when you're working for corporate, like there's purpose, right? There's like a mission and a vision, but
Right.
like how much power do you really have to make change?
Yep.
Like
Yeah, not much.
not
Not
much,
much.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I
So
guess
I
with the
loved,
people you work with, and then you were obviously like a nurse, so taking care of your patients and the NICU and all that is cool, but it's not yours,
yes,
right? Yeah. So
fair.
go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, it wasn't mine.
Right.
So, for 15 years, that's kind of where I've been. I was just working with my mom, expanding. We went from serving, 40 kids to now 157 kids. We've become like a staple family services institution in the community in the city of Inkster. And it's been just wonderful. It's been lovely. And, while you're in it, you're working with children and you're working with families and you're seeing like, gaps. You're seeing
Yeah.
gaps. You're seeing things that you can do. You're seeing, problems that you can essentially fix. Right.
Right. Right.
And fashion has always been a real, real passion of mine.
Mhm.
Like clothes and like expressing your identity. I mean, I wear a hijab, right? So
Mhm.
I've been expressing who I am and what I believe in since I was 8 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I
So
really
actually,
wanted.
what
Go ahead.
what is a hijab that you just so I'm not too familiar with it, and I
Sure.
know that my audience probably isn't either.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on because you're an e-commerce brand, but like it's cool that you're doing something number one that is your passion, and number two that you guys believe in and is part of your culture and your religion
Yes.
and everything, which is pretty awesome. So explain
Yes.
what that is, and then
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
So the hijab it's essentially like the root word is like a covering,
Got it.
and used in like real time daily. It's used to describe the head covering that a woman essentially wears.
Cool.
Um, like more specifically, like I said, so I wear the hijab, so I wear the scarf
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
head. So I'm a
Mhm.
visible Muslim woman, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
So
course.
I'm a visible Muslim woman. So that's a huge part of me and my
Mhm.
identity. So expressing myself through apparel and
Yeah.
through clothes is it has always been a part of my story. And I really wanted to do that for my children.
Mhm.
And I really wanted something, and as we evolve, what that looks like over time, um um uh may look a little different, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that like the traditions are like stay very much intact.
Mhm.
And as I was, enrolling my children in private schools,
Mhm.
Islamic private schools, I noticed that the uniforms were like they weren't made for them. It wasn't made for them. It was like families were going to just any school uniform shop and
Mhm.
making themselves fit into what was being purchased or what was on the rack.
Yeah, the
Like they're
normal
mending.
societal, like,
Yeah.
school uniform.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're mending they're mending, they're adding, they're
Right.
doing, I went to a Muslim private school. I went to an Islamic private school. So I know what that looks like and I
Mhm.
know the struggle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this can't be. I was like, it's 25 years later. Like, really? We
Right.
haven't been able
Well,
to
the
like solve
same
this?
yeah, the same uniforms, right?
It's the
Yeah.
same uniforms, and there has to be like diversity within uniforms because, there are so many different practicing cultures and practicing beliefs. And we should be able to create uniforms that symbolize and dignify those
Right.
beliefs.
Those
It's not
beliefs,
a
yeah.
one size fits all, even though, um, you know, that is the overarching goal of a uniform. But even within uniform, there has to be individuality and there has to be self expression.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, you're silencing people and you're dimming their light. And that's not what uniforms are about, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
uniforms are, that's not what it's about. So essentially, what I decided to do was recenter and return the uniforms to its original purpose. And that is, helping students focus,
Mhm.
specifically in, like school uniforms, helping students
Right.
focus, helping them feel safe, um, and just showing up as learners and not
Mhm.
essentially like performers. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So I did for a couple years, I entered the apparel making market and I
Yeah.
learned so much and I saw a real gap. I saw a real gap in the market for tween girls.
So,
And
give us an age range. I mean, I have a 12-year-old,
yep,
crazy. So
yeah.
what would you say, like 12 to like 18? Is that the
Yes.
the age range? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So it is essentially like 11, 12 to 18 years old. It's that age range. There's a real gap in the market for just good wear for them, like good
Right.
designed wear for them that they could feel confident and strong in and is not a crop top, you
Right.
know?
But that also aligns with your beliefs, right? And how you
Yeah.
guys want to dress and it's for boys too, correct?
Yes, it's
Yes.
for
Yeah.
boys too.
Yeah.
So in terms of like marketing and sales, like I had to like
Yeah.
really narrow this down. I had to really narrow it
Sure.
down. Like I couldn't tackle the whole apparel tween market,
Right.
because this is something that was very brand new to me and like I'm bootstrapping this. Like I am
Right.
self-funding all of this,
Sure.
right? So I had to like really narrow down who am I going to be selling for and how can I get in? Like I need to get
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
So after some research, I kind of went back to school uniforms. For a couple years, I was in the apparel. Like it started with the school uniform. I was inspired by the school uniform in
Mhm.
in the school setting. And then after I jumped in and did all the research, I saw a real gap in the market and broadly, right? The
Yeah.
tween
Yeah. Yeah.
market.
Mhm.
And then I was like, okay, now that I need to sell, let me go back. Let me go back and enter the school uniform market and create something for them in specific. And let's see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what you did.
That's what I did.
And then, so how long did it take you? Well, okay, so you came up with the school uniform apparel for tween concept, right? And you're like mapping it out in your head and doing all that. So, how did it come from, or how did it go from just a concept and you saying, okay, I want to do this to actually doing it? Like, did you go to school at all for like sewing or fashion or anything, or was it you were you just talking to people? Like how did
Yeah.
that all kind of come about?
So I did. I had made like small collections. I had hired sewers. I had
Okay.
hired pattern makers.
Mhm.
I went to Turkey to learn about
No
manufacturing.
way.
Yeah,
Cool.
I went to Turkey to learn about manufacturing. Then COVID hit. Found some
Yeah.
U.S. manufacturers like here in Detroit and
Oh, sweet.
Pontiac in specific, and in Lansing.
Nice.
Worked with them to
Mhm.
create patterns and samples, and I
Mhm.
dropped like really small capsule collections just to test make it like you said, concept to
Yep.
customer,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep. That's
Just
the
to
hardest
test that
part.
whole process. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I did that, right?
Mhm.
And then so I learned that process. And then I was like, okay, I am going to be a little bit more specific for my niche market. I'm going to make the school uniforms. So I
Cool.
did. I did go
Yeah.
back to school. I took a couple classes
Yeah.
at the College for Creative Studies in
Mhm.
Detroit.
Mhm.
I learned to sketch. I learned to sew. I learned to pattern. I learned to really creatively bring your idea to life, like from concept, like from a vision board,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do all of the research and then take all of that. And then somehow from that, like you create the silhouette and
Yeah.
then, you sketch it out and then you pattern it and then you use like sample fabric to make it and that's what I did. And then I hired professional pattern makers and professional
Right.
samplers and
Okay.
professional sewers to just clean it all up and make it
Right.
professional and presentable.
Cool.
And along that way, I was learning about fabrics. I was learning about
I was just
fabrics
gonna
and
ask about fabrics, like how did you pick this certain fabric for the school uniform? Because and this is the interesting side that I love about e-commerce and just like having a brand and not so much even e-commerce, just bringing an idea and putting it down on paper to actually making it real, and then you doing all the research to actually, like the fabric and everything.
yeah.
So, yeah.
A huge game changer what for me when it came to the fabrics because that's a whole nother world,
Oh,
right? Like
totally.
learning
Yeah.
all the fabrics and what goes with what, like what's actually like a decent pant fabric and what's actually a decent
Right.
shirting fabric and all of these things. I went to a trade show and I met in an incredible company. I met a representative from that company that I swear to you, like just believed in me
That's
and, like,
cool.
just saw me and was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I think she's on to something." And
Yeah.
what I learned is that, like, there's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping.
Absolutely. Yes.
There is so much gatekeeping,
Yeah.
and I had 2 people in my life. I had 2. I had Jay Arbitman,
Mhm.
and I had Natasha Anderson. Those 2 people saw what I was doing and
Mhm.
believed in me and were like, "Come over here.
That's
We're gonna
cool.
tell you some stuff. We're gonna give you some tips.
Yeah.
Show me what you got."
That's cool.
And they did. And they showed me the way and they gave me tips and they took me under their wings. And they like anytime I would have a question, I could lean on them. For the
Mhm.
past, for the past 2.5, 3 years, they've been my people. Like
That's
I've been
awesome.
leaning on them, asking them questions to the point where like now I can answer a lot of these questions myself.
Good. Yeah.
And I learned so much from them. And it really is about people like being in your corner
Oh, yeah.
and wanting to teach you and like believing in you that they
Yeah.
provide you with the wisdom.
Yeah. Well, and it's also too, I think what's important to realize there too is, you're going to doubt yourself a little bit as well, right? But
Yes.
they believe in you to the point where you're like, "Oh wow, like okay, maybe I can do this." All right? Same thing with me when I first started the agency. I was like you, I was working I was a policeman actually in Los Angeles, and I was like, dude, what am I doing here? I had worked in these long hours, dangerous cities in LA, like, putting my life in jeopardy all the time. And then I just woke up one morning and I'm like, man, what? Like, seriously, what am I doing? And then I saw this door open for, a social media like marketing stuff and just did what you did, right? Dove in and took it to the next level. And same thing for me. Like, there was a one guy who, like, basically gave me my first 2 clients and the rest was history. Like, he believed in me more than I believed in myself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that's super cool. And that's why I love having people like you on because we can chat although we're in 2 completely different businesses and industries and all that stuff, we can still relate to each other and chat about you taking an idea, putting it down on paper, and then what makes that idea come to life is people, right?
Yes.
People in your corner, people that you can, learn from. And the cool thing about like my experience, and it sounds like with yours too, like these people weren't asking for anything in return. right? They just were cool, helping out. They saw something that they believed in as well, and they were like, "Oh, that's pretty sick," like, let's explore it. So, okay, so you went from so the fabric is now kind of all that portion is done. So
Yes.
how did you go from, like, like, building the brand and obviously Studious Monday, like, how did you break into that either school district or, and in your schools there, is there there's sure a gatekeeper there for sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
how did you break into it? I mean, what are you guys doing now? Kind of run us through what's going on with the business like today.
Okay. So what really helped was polishing my messaging,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like really cleaning up what it is that I am doing because I
Mhm.
had already gone through so much. I had already gone through so much. Like there was at a point where I stopped even making my own clothes. I'm like, I'm just going to make clothes for others because I invested so much money in equipment. I invested
Right.
so much money in this space, in these tables and everything that I just need to make money. That I
Right.
literally just need to make money and I'm
Yeah.
just going to put this on the side,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take in people, and help them, make things because I have all this equipment and like this equipment is like financed and I have like
Sure.
monthly bills that I need to pay
Yeah.
that that like I just like I just was waiting,
Sure.
was waiting to like really get my messaging down.
Mhm.
So I worked with a marketing agency. I worked with like a local marketing agency where I took some time away. I took some time away from, trying to sell and trying to pitch, and I took some time away about maybe I would say about 2 or 3 months and just
Mhm.
sat really down with my products
Yeah.
and with the brand, and the collection and my mission and, really narrowed it down to like 1 or 2 sentences.
Mhm.
And then we created like a pitch deck. And then
Mhm.
we created a plan. We created a plan. We created a strategy. And we said
Cool.
that this is what we're going to do. We're
Yeah.
going to go knocking on the doors because I had to learn about my market. I had to learn
Right.
about my people. Like I had to
Mhm.
go like yeah, these are my people, right? Like these are my people. I know them,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
someone's uncle knows someone's uncle, someone's cousin knows
Right.
someone. Okay, sure.
Mhm.
But you really don't know. You really don't know until you actually sit down and like understand how things operate. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. I had to learn how our infrastructures, how the systems operate. And then when I stepped in to the systems, like, social media wasn't working with that. Like social media wasn't going to work with them. Emails weren't going to work with them.
Right.
um, what worked were cold calls. Like what worked were cold calls because I wanted to start in Dearborn. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to
Mhm.
start in Dearborn. I wanted to start with my own community. And I was like, man, if I
Right.
can get my people, if I can get my community, if I
Yeah.
can get these three big schools, I know that I could conquer the rest of the US. I know
Yeah.
that I could conquer the rest of the region, the rest of the nation, because your hardest critics are going to be like your own people,
Yeah, of
right?
course. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I just I called one day, I knocked on the doors and was like, "Please, I just need 5 minutes of your time. I have something really great to offer you guys. This is something that you and the rest of our schools in Dearborn have been struggling with.
Mhm.
Um, and just give me like 5 minutes of your time." And before that, before I had gone in, I had done my own research. Like I had focused grouped families, parents from
Wow.
these schools
Mhm.
because I know them. They're people
Right.
I grew up with. They're my
Yeah.
neighbors, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
I focus grouped them. I was like, "Hey, guy, like I got about 15 to 20 moms together,
Mhm.
and I just asked them questions. I asked them questions, and I got so much data that I went with this data, with this information to the schools, and I was like, I sat with 15 of your parents, and this is what they're saying about your school, about the school uniforms. This is not your problem. It is a
Right.
problem. And
Yeah.
I'm here to solve it for you,
Yeah, that's cool.
you know?
Mhm.
And I made it easy. I simplified it. I simplified it to the T because at the end of the day, the schools don't want to have to worry about the uniforms.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want to tell parents, go here, this is going to be great, and you're going to be happy. And the school just wants, to feel good, that their families feel good. So they're
Hmm.
not projecting their anger on the fact that the school is not doing right by their children,
Right.
because at the end of the day, parents are paying for this.
Yeah.
When you're living,
Well, of
you're
course.
living in such a public, city and public systems, your neighbor who is getting like probably the same kind of academic experience and the same kind of academic opportunity for free,
Hmm.
and you are paying $15,000 a year because you
Yeah.
want an Islamic, non-secular environment that
Right.
your child goes to, you can get a little upset.
Well, of
You
course.
can get
Yeah.
a, so
Yeah.
schools don't want to have to deal with that. They don't want to have to
Yeah.
deal with that. They were just like, so I really simplified it for them, and all it took was one school. All it took was one school to be
Sweet.
like, all right, we're going to give it to you. And I went in with like, hey, listen, just give me your high school. Let me pilot your high school. Let me show you
Hmm.
how easy this is going to be for you.
Hmm.
And then to the point where they were like, you know what? No, you got the whole school. You've got pre-K through
Awesome.
12th grade.
Sweet. And you're like, holy crap, now I really got my work cut out for me, right?
This is like end of May, beginning of June.
Oh
I have
man.
500 students that I have to prepare
Yeah.
for, and I wasn't
Yeah.
going to say no. I was
Right.
not
Of
going to say no,
course. Yeah. Well,
you
and
know?
that's what we do as entrepreneurs, right? We're like, okay, you know what? I got this opportunity. I'm just going to figure it out.
And
you
that's what
know?
I did.
Yeah, that's
I
great. So
figured it out.
awesome. So you landed the first school, and then literally, well, was it about five? Well, it had to have been more than 500 pieces that you're doing, right? I
Yes.
mean, multiple sizes and all kinds of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
take us through that a little bit, like how that was.
So yeah, so it was about roughly 500, and I think the exact number is 588 orders. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
In those orders, you have polos, gym
Yes.
wear, button down shirts, skirts, dresses, tunics, some that are pieces that we designed and that we made. Some
Hmm.
are just like drop ship, like sweatpants, plain
Right.
tees with
Okay.
like school logos, because that's what they needed. Like I had to become my competitor, but my
Yeah.
competitor has been about 50 years in the business.
Right.
Whereas, like, 2 months in, I'm 2
Yeah.
months into selling. So I
Yeah.
had to make sure that, like, all the options that my competitor was offering, I needed I needed to as well, because the schools were like, "We're not sending families to 2 or 3 different places.
Well,
We
of course not.
we don't wanna
Yeah.
confuse our families. We're sending them straight to you." So I had to, like, offer an abundance of options, which I was not prepared for, or I was not built for, that it
Yeah.
really, really it really hurt us.
Right. Okay.
It did. It really
Yeah.
hurt us. We were really late on orders. Parents were so mad.
Really?
Families were so mad.
Oh no. You're like, I'm trying, guys.
I swear, I was like, "I'm trying," and
Yeah.
I'm giving discounts. I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
I'm not gonna charge you for this. I got it."
Yeah.
Hand delivering,
Wow.
because I had 0 time left.
Yeah.
That what ended up happening with me, my husband, and my sister-in-law
Uh-huh.
divided up the city of Dearborn into quadrants via zip code,
That's crazy.
and at the end of the day, we were splitting up the packages and the orders, and we were going out and delivering them for about 2 to 3 hours a night.
Wow. That's cool. Hey, what service there, right? That's pretty awesome. That other company wouldn't do that, right?
No, and let me tell
Yeah.
you a story,
Yeah.
Jason. So
Yeah.
one of the orders that I was walking up to the house,
Uh-huh.
the dad, who also ended up being the chairman of the board of the school, was
Man.
sitting in the garage smoking a cigar
Uh-huh.
and is like
My
looking at
man.
me. He's looking
That's
at me.
cool.
He's like, "Are you hand delivering the
That is
uniforms?"
funny. Yeah.
I'm like, I need to make sure you guys get your stuff. The kids
Well,
are
that's
starting school
awesome.
and, and at this point, the kids had already started school, but the
Right.
school gave like a grace period on uniforms to the
On uniforms. So they
families.
could wear just street clothes until then? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
And then he's like, "What kind of customer service is this? This is the best customer service ever."
That's well, I mean, you probably made up a lot of that for hand delivering. So you made up for the being late on stuff and you
Yes.
going above and beyond and
Yes.
delivering that. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, you weren't charging gas money or mileage,
Nope.
right? You're just making sure they got the product, which is
I was
super
just making
cool.
sure they got the product.
Yeah.
When they needed to return, I returned. There were so many times families came back and like used the apparel and were like, you know, um, we just found something else or whatever. And, I was just like, okay, that's fine. Give it back. And I
Right.
would refund them,
Yeah.
because I had messed up because, parents were just like, we're about a month into the school and I still haven't received
Yeah.
and I need something. And then the school was cracking down. The school because they have a
Right.
system also, right? Like they have
Sure.
a system that they need to
Yeah.
keep in place. And if the kids start to get a little too, they start to take advantage and they start to get a little
Right.
rowdy.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, wearing whatever they want, and you're like, "Man, come on."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had to be really, really flexible and I had to take a hit. And I was
yeah,
okay with that. And I
yeah,
was okay
for
with that. And
sure.
I knew that I would make it up. And I knew that that would all count and that would all
Mhm.
matter.
Yeah,
And here I am the next school season with not only that school, but 4 other schools.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So you were able to land a few other schools then?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
That's
And
awesome.
and those other schools actually came from social media, right?
Well, they did.
Like
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask, like,
yes.
obviously, we wanna talk a little social media here, but what are you
Yep.
guys doing currently? Like, were you posting on socials and then they saw it? Were you running ads? Like, what were you guys
Yes.
doing exactly?
So what I ended up doing, I kind of did like a campaign
Mhm.
of like just kids talking about our uniforms and families were they were like sending in photos of their kids in our uniforms
Oh, cool.
and I would just post it. I would
Yeah.
just post it and the one the campaign that we did with like the different kinds of students like just talking about themselves and then just
Mhm.
talking about like how Studious Monday gets them
Yeah.
um that was on TikTok, and the last school that we just that is like heavily interested in us, they're actually from Arkansas, Little Rock,
Oh, cool.
Arkansas.
Huh?
They were like, TikTok did it for us. I was like, really?
That's
I'm like,
cool.
really? And they're like, yeah, like those posts that you did on TikTok about those kids wearing their like those interviews of the kids, like talking about themselves and talking about their favorite foods and
Yeah.
the different kinds of sports they're in, all the different kind, like all the different, like just like what kind of kids they were. And then in the end, they're wearing your uniform. They were like, you gotta give credit to TikTok because that's how we found you. And we're really interested in partnering
Sweet.
and going with your uniforms.
Yeah, so and that's the power of social media, really, right? And because, without being on social, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you guys are, you would never have been able to reach that school in Arkansas,
No,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so that's the true power of social. Yes, there's a lot of downsides to social. We know that, right? But the upside is you can post, and even spend some money, run some ads, and reach
sure.
people that you would never be able to reach otherwise,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Yeah, or
100%.
or pay $20,000 for a mail, like a piece of mail that goes to mailboxes. But like you're not going to do that for a school,
No.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what were you gonna
Yeah.
say? Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's like the next thing for me. Like, I really
Cool.
want to, I really want to, and I really want to enter that social media world,
Yeah.
um, and like really make a kind of like, like tell our story and talk about the brand and really connect with other Muslim communities and not only Muslim communities, but Christian communities, Catholic
Yep.
communities,
Yep.
Jewish communities, even non-religious communities that believe in the power of modesty, right?
Yeah.
Believe
Yeah.
in school uniforms and, the purpose of uniforms and dignity, like, right?
Sure.
Like just
Yeah,
being
totally.
dignified,
Yeah,
you
absolutely. I mean,
know?
man, my daughter will come up with something. I'm like, girl, you step foot out that door, and guess what? You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah. So that's the
I
power of social.
yeah,
I just don't know how to do it because
yeah,
I've been so inside, the factories and
yeah,
inside
yeah,
making my products
yeah,
that it's time to lean on the experts such as
yeah.
yourself, Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's being a business owner and running a business is a complete different world than being a business owner knowing how to run ads and knowing how to really get your brand out there on all the socials. And the organic social, like what you guys did, you posted on TikTok, and that's one thing. But to really grow and scale the brand, I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have to spend some marketing dollars to be able to
Sure.
do that. I mean, every big brand does. It's pretty interesting, kind of how things go, and it's funny because we have a lot of experience in your niche, which is pretty crazy, like targeting administrators and teachers and schools and stuff. Because we
Right.
do that for one of our clients, actually spends a lot of money right now in that niche. And when he first came to us, I was like, man, are we going to be able to like accurately target, especially like principals and administrators and the like the staff that's in charge of the school? um but that's the power of social media and targeting and being able to get that messaging out there. I'm glad you worked with an agency to hone your messaging in.
Yep.
So now, like, in a perfect world, like if we helped you with your advertising, your messaging is locked in, everything's good. Your site is clean and good. It's very easy to navigate. It showcases the product super well. I really like your site, and
Thank you.
like your site is simple, inclusive, and relatable, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
that's super cool. And how many, so do you know, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, and then we'll kind of wrap up here, but how many Muslim communities or schools are there across the United States? Do you
Yeah.
know?
Yes, I have a list. Yes, I
Cool.
did a list
Okay.
because I was cold calling, right?
Yeah.
It's over 250 Muslim schools registered in the United States.
And I'm sure various sizes and, all that stuff. So,
Yes.
yeah, and then like you said, branching into, I mean, I know there's Christian schools that have the same
Yes.
modesty,
Yep.
guidelines and,
Mhm.
and different things. So,
Yep.
would be cool for you to break into that sector as well.
For sure.
And I mean, there's also something to be said about a local, um, you know, family run business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
awesome, and you guys are doing great work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks,
Appreciate it,
Jason.
and telling your story, and because I think, what you see in an ad does not reflect the blood, sweat, and tears that you went through to create a brand,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
taking your idea from sketching it out to finding the fabric to meeting cool people, and then actually landing your first school. I think that's super awesome.
For
And
sure. Thank you,
yeah,
Jason. I
yeah,
appreciate you. Thank you for
yeah,
giving me the time.
yeah, absolutely. So, if anybody wants to go to your site or get a hold of you, what's your site address and then email address if anybody wants to contact you?
Yeah. So it's www.studiousmonday.com, spelled STUDYUS Monday.com. And you can email us at hello@studiousmonday.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll have a link to the website in the show notes, and then obviously the email. But again, Newell, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on.
Thanks, Jason.
Hopefully we can continue this conversation. It'd be really cool to have like a part two in like a year to see
For
where you're
sure.
at. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for being
Okay.
on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll see you again next time. Be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.